Fabrizio, as I said, has been in the industry a long time. Started off in the world of marketing with a marketing agency, represented lots of big brands like Nestle. Went on to create a messaging aggregator called Horizon, which he sold 5 years ago to Link Mobility. And at the same time was involved in platforms. He's expanded that business and grown it. And now sells these platforms to mobile network operators, aggregators, and other entities around the world. So he's seen the business from every angle. So thanks for joining.
Thank you very much.
So thank you, Fabrizio. Next up, I'd like to introduce Michael Power. Michael, come on down.
Cheers, thank you.
Have a seat. If you could have a seat over there, that would be great. Yeah, go that side.
Right, okay.
So Michael hails from the UK. He's an independent consultant. His brand is Engage Mobile and has worked and continued to work with many different aggregators and entities over the years. And his expertise is on the enterprise communication side of things. Is that fair?
Yep, that's a good summary, thank you.
There we go, that'll do, thank you. And next up, we have Pavle Damjanovic. Pavle, come on down. You're with Telq Global. Exactly, so there is another company called Telq, but that's very, very different from you. We've got to be very, very careful with the names we use, and indeed, all the acronyms. Could you just introduce Telq Global to us?
Yes.
Okay, so your mic is out, so it's okay. So Telq, it's all about virtual numbers. Virtual numbers in plain language are mobile phone numbers. And if you think about, there we go, saved by the bell, and there's a number being called. So that's exactly it. If you think about Uber or Lyft or Bolt or any of the rideshare companies like that, all the drivers have a virtual number. They have their own real mobile phone number, but of course they don't want to give that to us, customers, so they have a pool of virtual ones. So many companies and enterprises around the world rely every day on pools of millions and millions of numbers, and they have to come from somewhere and be sourced from somewhere, and Telq Global does exactly that. So a very warm welcome, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And Scarlett, come on back. You sat down, you had a bit of a rest for a couple of minutes. So Scarlett is very, very much in the forefront of research into the area of business messaging, and is with Juniper Research. You just heard Scarlett. And last but not least, it's me to sit down.
And who are you? And who are you?
Thank you very much, Fabrizio. So my name is James. If we combine us all together, I think you've got about 100 years of telecoms experience between us all. I've been in telecoms a long time and business messaging, and have seen it from many, many angles, and currently doing some work with an organization called the Mobile Ecosystem Forum. We've got 170 members all around the world, which include mobile operators, business messaging companies, and we partner with the likes of Juniper Research and others as well. So thank you for the question, Fabrizio.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Very well. Excellent. So I have some questions, but then let's get straight to it. So Scarlett introduced the topic. We're here to talk about conversational business messaging. Underpinning that surely has to be something called omnichannel. Fabrizio, we'll start with you. In plain language, could you explain to the audience what is omnichannel messaging and how does it differ from multi-channel?
So multi-channel is if you separate, the channels. Let's say here I talk with user A only on SMS, user B only with WhatsApp, user C with Telegram, let's say. And omnichannel is actually a mix. So you orchestrate the channels, So I start with SMS with user A and then move it maybe to WhatsApp, and from WhatsApp to email and whatever. So you have multiple channel for the same person, and you mix this in one conversation.
So this is it. This is the key thing, in one conversation.
One conversation.
Michael, how easy is this to do in the real world?
It's a great question. It's actually quite difficult, primarily from a permission point of view. So a lot of these channels have different permissions. So being able to, technically we can switch from one channel to another very easily, but making sure that you've got the legal right to do that's another matter. And I think that's where we're seeing quite a lot of smart systems coming out now, where actually they're able to either capture that permission, capture that intent to allow you to have that conversation, or they're aggregating the conversation. So it may not be one single thread, but you've got one single view of the customer where you can see, well, this is the interaction we have on SMS, this is the interaction we have on email, this is the interaction we have on WhatsApp, and allow you to actually start making some understanding of how your customer interacts with you for different topics.
So I know you like coding personally. You're very much a nerd in that respect.
More as a hobby. I have to be careful because any of the guys I used to work with would probably argue very, very different on that.
But I think from your perspective, you know the nuts and bolts. It's not easy to put an omni-channel solution together, the software.
Yeah, I think if you were looking to enter the market today with a brand new platform, you've got a lot of catching up for the key players.
Okay, so that's something to really, really understand, because something I've personally found, and I know the panelists and many of you in this room and online will know, is you hear omni-channel, the word being thrown around just like cookies, absolutely, to kids. And the reality is very, very few organizations can do omni-channel truly well.
Yeah.
And actually, at the end of the day, most communication out there is still multi-channel. It's not omni-channel. It's just trendy to say omni-channel. Mm-hmm. It's the same with AI and machine learning. Everyone says AI, AI, AI. It's not. It's machine learning most of the time.
I think you've also got the other aspect to that, which is the consumer. Not all consumers want to have that feel that every channel they use is actually all being aggregated somewhere. It does have that big brother kind of big data feel to it. So again, we're also battling with bringing our consumers along on this journey with us.
Personal data and identity, and we'll come to that as well. So Scarlett, just a very, very basic question. Do you think, because you could come in it from a neutral perspective, you're not providing the numbers to enterprises, you're not Fabrizio selling solutions, you're not Michael working with a whole variety, you're getting a real nice holistic overview. Are we as an industry doing enough to offer the consumers actual communication solution in a way that actually meets their needs, and one step back, the enterprises in a way that they actually understand? Because you used a few acronyms. I saw you were a bit careful and you didn't use a truckload of them. But we as an industry, and we talked about that on panels yesterday, just used too many acronyms. And at the end of the day, businesses haven't got a clue what the heck we're talking about. Well, what's the situation you're seeing out there?
I think it's true. I think the education of enterprises and consumers should be the utmost priority. Like I mentioned in the presentation, I think for enterprises, the idea of omnichannel communication can be quite daunting, as it represents a big sort of elevation in terms of, at the beginning, workload. Automation will come down later at the line. But like I mentioned, you have to deal with the orchestration of back-end systems into these new messaging channels, and you need to deliver this golden, great customer experience. We talk about the concept of good customer experience, and I think when you have these different channels, there's a lot of expectation that you're going to have that same level of service across the different platforms.
Okay. Pavle, we talked about what your company does. Can you just explain the importance of, let's get this right, the importance of numbers, and have you seen demands for your businesses' services, an increase in the requirement for numbers coming as people start to understand that actually two-way communication, which is the most basic thing, basic bedrock of omnichannel, is coming around?
Yes, we saw just 5 minutes ago few examples of evolution of the business communication, and you also just mentioned education, which is a very important thing. So I think that most of the companies right now understand only A to B business, and this is the major problem from my perspective. And I don't see a lot of new ideas and a lot of improvement in getting two-way messaging into communication, into businesses, in every field. So I think that we all have to do a lot of work to educate enterprises and end customers that there can be two-way communication, not only A to B business communication, but you can hear the market, you can know what they think about your product, your service, whatever.
But you're involved with making two-way an absolute reality. And do you think the industry as a whole has done a bad job of making it clear the realities, and actually that enabling two-way communication isn't super easy? Because if you say something is easy, the reality is businesses, whoever, find it's not easy, they give up and say, do you know what, I'll just continue using email.
I agree, it's not easy to implement those kind of products and services. And that's why, for example, platform vendors has to do to help in this
Yeah.
process and to enable this to be much easier for customers and to use it and to understand it. So there are several tasks for ourselves to make the market in that way, because when you have a two-way communication, you can have 3 times more messages, for example, for some kind of campaign, etc. So I think that we all together have to work on educating the market.
Yeah. Fabrizio, sticking to that, when you're talking about educating the market, it's the same, I know, when it comes to fraudulent practices, protecting, it's the same. So many panels talk about education. Who is responsible for educating? Is it the mobile operators? Is it you, the platform vendor, who's actually selling solutions to the mobile operators? Who do you think should be it? Because I know many people say, oh, everyone's got a role to play. But as soon as you say everyone's got a role to play and no one takes the leadership and the ownership, we're just not going to get there. Or what's your opinion?
Can I ask you more precise this question? To educate who? People in this industry or the end users?
The end users.
The end users. Oh, now you open Pandora's box.
Yes.
Okay, good. Well,
because it's the end users at the end of the day.
We are the wrong industry to do this. I'm sorry. I'm honest. You know, we are in transaction business. We are used to sell volumes, SMS. The marketeers out there, they are not in transaction business. They are in conversion business. They don't care if the message costs 5 cents or 10 cents, as long as they can sell something what costs €100. So we don't have this thinking. Okay, so what we can provide are the tools. But at the end, who is going out there, you know, and explain it? That's complete other industry, and that's pure consultancy. And today I heard buzzwords like AI, machine learning, and stuff like that. So let me just tell a story. I buy from you a long number, okay? Then I get from you something like AI. I plug it somehow. I have no idea how does this work, you know? And then I offer this to grandmother's cookie shop. And I chat, and it's doing something, right? And then I just plug that out, and I bring it to, I don't know, to Zara shop. So now what? This AI, what was able before to talk about cookies, is now able to talk about fashion. So you see, this bots, AI, this is a huge consultancy industry, and we are not a consultancy industry. We are not. That's the typical business of an agency. Agencies do that. They go out, they sell campaigns, they explain, okay, what do you want? What should the bot do? You want to sell, better support, what? What do you want? Is everybody of us ever have been to a customer and talk like that to them? I don't think so, right? So the question, who should educate? Yeah, I think this is an agency business, consultancy business. These guys are the ones which buy technology from us, which buy traffic from us, and then go out and do this, this teaching of this market. But then comes the second point, if you may allow me another minute, is that how important is it? I mean, that's also reality. We wish, you know, that omni-channel happens, the two-way happens. Okay, did somebody of you go to the grandmother's cookie shop and ask, is this the main thing what you want right now, that people can chat with you? Do you have the resources? Can somebody reply to this message? Or are you now more busy to have an Instagram account or a TikTok account? Or, oh, you're on LinkedIn, how cool is that? You know, these guys are busy with so many other digital channels, you know, and unfortunately it's not that we are so centric that we are the most important thing. That's why I liked very much what you said before, that it will be dominant still via SMS, because the other channels are just too much, you know. It's just too complicated. And there is no urgency. There is no real pain point, you know, that I can talk via Telegram, WhatsApp, or whatever. There is no pain. The pain is to sell cookies. That's the real pain, you know, and that's the reality. And now I said it.
Keeping it simple, okay. Michael, I know you've worked with some of the largest business messaging companies in the world directly. You've been helping them with rich messaging, plain language, helping them implement omni-channel globally. What have you done and what have you recommended to them, because you've been recommending to them that they do to help ensure the uptake of these solutions is as high as possible, given on the back of what Fabrizio has said, and people actually just want simple solutions and understandable solutions, because we know as soon as you start talking about chat apps and RCS and commercial models and things like that, things can get a little unclear, whereas compared with an SMS, you know an SMS is priced at X euro cents in Germany, and that's it.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think what I've seen and where I work in the industry, my background is all in working with enterprises, solution selling, and we're coming from a world of wholesale, of how many do you want, and when you try and go and sell a project to a company, you can get bottled down in trying to talk to them about technology, but as we've just said, that doesn't work. It's too complex. So what the players, the successful people in the industry are doing on this is they're going out and they're talking about use cases. They're talking about return on investment. So how can I make you sell more cookies? How can I, if someone doesn't like the product, how can I make it easy to turn that bad customer experience into a good one? How can I streamline my call center so that I don't have to have 50 people at lunchtime and then 20 on the off peaks? And I think that's really how we need to look at it. It's not about how selling SMS or WhatsApp or bots or NLP. It's what does it mean for the business, and actually how do they see value from that? And I think you're right. A lot of that is agency. They've been working in that world certainly from a marketing perspective for a long time. But if you look at what a lot of our industry was doing, we had SaaS solutions largely for SMS because everyone knew how to use SMS.
Software as a service.
Software as a service, sorry, me coming in with acronyms again.
Yeah.
But software as a service for SMS, and it's a bit of
What
a
does that mean in plain language?
So essentially, the goal is that someone can go onto Google, search for SMS, find, pick one of the top few entries, click through it, sign up and be sending SMS without having to speak to anyone. That's the software as a service dream. But what we've found with these additional services or features like WhatsApp and so forth, that doesn't work because people don't know how to implement it. And that's where the solution side, where the consultancy comes in. And a lot of the big players in the industry, whether it's operators that are trying to, again, work direct with enterprises or the large software providers, they are creating their own professional service teams now to help those enterprises understand, to go out, solution sell, to help them implement and find those return on investment.
Okay, so it's the simplicity. With SMS, it's fine, but as soon as you start to move into other channels, it gets difficult. The use cases, for example, you can't do this, but you can only do that.
I think there's a great example of this. So, like SMS, if I was building a platform, and a developer, we wanted to add SMS for notifications. The development team, you'd let them go off and say, right, pick an SMS provider, just don't pick the most expensive one. And they're probably going to go to Twilio, right, at the top of Google. When you're talking about streamlining a call center and being able to have half the number of people because you've now got people managing 4 or 5 conversations at once with text, there's no developer in the world that signs off that change in a business structure. That's someone much more senior. So how you speak to that person and how you sell to them is very different to how we used to sell bulk SMS messaging,
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Now, Scarlett, obviously you deal in the world of statistics and facts from what you're told by the people you interview and you talk to. In your latest research in the past year or two, because you haven't been here at this event before, is what the most surprising? Is there anything surprising that stands out in terms of statistics, or that really surprised me? You thought, oh, this service shouldn't be doing as well as it should, or there's been a real resurgence here which I didn't expect. Anything like that stands out?
It's a very good question, James. In terms of what's surprising, I think there was a lot of buzz about RCS initially, and I think there's been quite a lot of potentially disappointment in most recent years. I think obviously the COVID pandemic, I hate to talk about it, but we all went through it, had a massive impact on sort of new innovation within the industry. A lot of players put their plans on hold potentially, and they focus on the provision of their key services. I feel like now things are accelerating again, but RCS is still trying to play catch up, I want to say. It's lagging behind where the expectation might have been sort of 2-3 years ago. And as I alluded to in the presentation, I think the fact that Apple don't support it is a big thing.
That won't change though, because Tim Cook said if you want your grandma to buy an iPhone, we want grandma to use it, so buy an iPhone.
I think that's one of the problems. I think, obviously Apple won't support it because that will devalue the value proposition of things like iMessage, and it will maybe lead to customer attrition. So I would say the biggest surprise is just the reality of RCS potentially versus expectation and the hype that's garnered around it.
Okay. At the end of the day, I have to admit personally that in the past year or so, I actually haven't heard anyone say, oh, RCS will replace SMS or something like that. I think all of us on the panel and many of us in the audience have heard it, will have met too many people who said, yes, RCS is going to replace SMS, SMS is dead. And I think we as an industry have to stop talking like this. I'm old enough to remember, and a couple of us on the panel are, and some in the audience here I can see are, to remember when everyone was talking about MMS in the same way. MMS is going to replace picture messaging. MMS, multimedia service messaging, is going to replace SMS. And no, it didn't, for a variety of reasons, principle of which was interoperability and commercial model. And guess what? You've got similar issues with RCS. But I know, Michael, I know we're not here to talk about RCS. We're on an SMS forum at the end of the day, but you're a real expert in RCS. What do you think will happen to RCS?
Well,
realistically,
well, I mean, as you know, we do some work through Mobile Ecosystem Forum
Yes.
with operators, and we're seeing, if I go back 4 years ago, starting the RCS train, when it was this wonderful thing that was starting to feel like it was becoming a reality. We had maybe single-digit reach in different countries, and you try and talk to a marketing manager with single-digit reach, and that conversation doesn't go far. Now we're seeing, what, 40%, high 30s in Spain, high 20s in UK, Germany, and the key thing is the actual results that come back, though. So you may have 95% reach with SMS, but the conversion rate on RCS is that much higher that it's still on par, if not in some use cases, making more money. And so I think there's, that's the key thing you're saying there, really, isn't it? Is they are for different use cases. We need to make sure that we're using the right technology for the right purpose. But I take a slightly different view on the Apple scenario, because coming from an aggregator and a software provider background, as long as iMessage and Apple Business Chat, with a slight name change, but I still revert to the original, as long as it can provide the same functionality as RCS, well, that's exactly what the CPaaS and the omnichannel platforms are for, right? Me as a brand, I don't care how the message gets
I was about to say, people don't care what on earth the channel is called,
yes,
or how hard it is to implement it. They just want the results at the end of the day, and the conversion. It comes back to the conversion.
Yeah. As long as we can work out what handset it is, we can just, again, that's exactly what our industry is about. We make the very difficult easy. And I think that's the key with it, is being able to offer a brand. Look, you just give us the message. We'll work out what sort of handset it is. If it goes RCS, we'll send it RCS.
Yeah.
If it's not,
Exactly.
we'll send iMessage. If not, we'll fail over to SMS for you.
Okay, so can we put this to bed? RCS will never replace SMS. These are just channels. They're all separate individual channels that are really great in their own right in omni-channel, and they all have a role to play. So I think we could summarize it like that. Pavle, you're Mr. Numbers expert. The mobile, so let's say the virtual number opportunity, where do you see the market going in the next few years, and what will be the key drivers?
You asked me about mobile numbers.
Sorry, your virtual numbers. So the numbers you provide to your clients.
We have
and their
all
use
kinds
cases.
of numbers. So
Okay,
to be precise,
off you go.
if we are, so the question is.
Oh, the question is, so the future of, your numbers are used for, long numbers are used for a variety of use cases,
Well,
something like that.
when it comes to SMS, we have long and short codes.
Yeah.
So we have free to end user short codes. So there are different kind of numbers which can be used for different kind of services. So it always depends what is possible to get on the market, and also what is the need for that specific service.
What's the key driver of growth that you're seeing in long numbers, let's say, in particular?
Well, just as I said, the major SMS generator and all the figures that we are always seeing are mostly one-way communication and A2Ps and everything else. And the problem that I see is that in most cases, the only reason why customers or enterprises or end users are thinking about using two-way SMS communication is actually defined by a regulator. So for opt-out or something like that. So nobody's really thinking about using that service for two-way communication. And I take an example. Everybody likes to discuss about Viber because it doesn't work.
No, we can hear.
Yeah. So everybody wants to mention Viber because Viber has two-way communication. It's cheaper. Now you can open some kind of session and you can send unlimited messages during that session. But nobody is thinking that you can actually do the same thing through the SMS. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And when I talked before about how to educate market is actually, and Fabricio is right about that, that marketing agencies and the companies that are service providers should explain to the end customers that there is possibility for that as well.
So essentially, there's something right in front of their faces,
Exactly.
which is 30
They're
years
searching
old.
that in other channels,
Yeah.
but it is also possible in SMS.
Totally agree.
That's
It's
what I
hiding
wanna
in
say.
plain sight. It's right in front of us. It's 30
Exactly.
years old on December the 3rd this year.
And we are still discussing about SMS as
Yeah.
the best possible communication channel, and we are not using whole potential of it.
May I jump
Please,
in
Fabrizio.
shortly? I think we are all aware about the possibilities of two-way messaging, but conversation can get very expensive if a message costs 6 euros. So imagine I have make a ping pong with the end user, and I pay, like in Germany, 6 cents for one message. I receive one back, another 6. So the conversation gets expensive. The cheaper the A2P messages, so the MT, outgoing SMS, the more likely I would like to enter into a business case of a conversion. I think everything is very much driven by the price.
I agree.
And there are business cases which simply there is no. So there are things we could digitalize, you know, in two-way messaging, but it's just not worth it. It's too expensive because of the SMS price. If the SMS price costs a tenth of it, well, then all of a sudden you have a business case, and then you would have also this
Yes,
transaction.
but you can also look it from the marketing perspective. Maybe when somebody has some certain marketing budget, and if he can use it in two-way messaging, maybe he will get better results at the end. And then maybe it will be cheaper for him to spend X dollars to get some feedback from the market, to understand and to sell better, instead of sending 2 million messages.
Okay, and
That one is
Yeah, shortly. So if you send out a campaign, let's say to 1 million user, and 1 million user can reply. So I think there is no call center which is able to swallow that, right? So what you need is a bot, okay? So, but the bot is not a wonder machine. A bot has to be programmed. I mean, that's, you know, also if a bot has artificial intelligence inside, somebody needs to tell this machine what to do. And this is costly. And trust me, to program the bot is X factor times higher costs than the messages to send out. Because this is a magnitude of 10, 20, maybe even 100,000 euro, while maybe the campaign costs just 5,000 euro.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit the fact. I mean, you can broadcast and then receive, but you should also to be able to handle to receive. And there is nothing bad. I mean, I'm fully for this two-way messaging. I think it's really cool. But these are the blockers. And it's not just that our market or our industry is not aware. I think, at least for my customers, I can say that everybody wants to have two-way. You know, but the question is it a business case? Well, it's a business case. Is it really monetizable in certain markets, you know, to chat because of the price?
Scarlett, looking to jump in, I think.
I was just thinking, you mentioned obviously the costs versus the campaign, and I
Yes.
totally get it, especially when you're programming the chatbot. You'd have to have some sort of purchase structure, which was maybe charging per conversation, potentially. I don't know how that would look, but it could potentially reduce the cost versus just individual messages.
I know, but it's the billing, though, with the mobile operators. That's the problem.
I think
It's so hard to implement that.
I think this comes back to, again, how we're selling. You know, when we're selling SMS, people are used to saying, how many do you want? This is the price. We compete on price. And when you're doing bulk outbound marketing, one-way messaging, it's going to be hard to ever move away from that conversation. When we start selling two-way conversations, though, that's where we have the opportunity to change the pitch and change it into okay, rather than us talking about 6 cents a message, let's talk about how much you're going to save in your call center by being able to manage 5 conversations at once. That might have a nominal $10, $25 price tag attached to it because you're not having to have lots of individual phone calls. It's a difficult thing, and a lot of our industry is not familiar with selling that way, and you've still got the underlying thing that SMS people buy individually. So.
I mean, honestly speaking, that's really good ideas, you know. But then there is a reality out there. Imagine the implementation of billing systems. Now we don't talk about 100,000 to program a bot. Now we talk about 500 million or 1 billion to change billing systems in operators which are able to charge that. And you know, I mean, good ideas is one thing, you know, and we should talk about that. The other thing is just we face the reality. Is it feasible to do
Folks, we have gone way over already, but it just shows we could talk about this topic for hours, and we do talk about this topic for hours and days in our various organizations and across trade bodies. I think what we've seen is that omni-channel is a reality out there, but it's not as wide and as frequently used in its truest form as we might think. It is more the case that it's actually multi-channel. So that's the first thing. Secondly, there are not that actually many players out there that can truly deliver omni-channel in the way everyone talks about. 3, it's really, really costly to develop and implement omni-channel. But 4, the actual costs. We talk about SMS pricing, SMS commercial models. You raised a very good point, Pavle. Why can't we have the chat with SMS? And if I have a chat backwards and forwards, even if it's in Germany with 6 euro cents backwards and forwards, and it costs the enterprise €1, but out of that they make an extra sale for 100 euros, that's a really, really small amount of money. And again, not so long ago, we've got to remember, so many businesses relied on sending brochures and things through the post with the postage cost and everything like that. So they would have spent 2 or 3 euros per customer, no problem. And we're worrying, it might cost them 50 cents or €1, something like that. But it hinges on what Fabrizio tailed it up with is it's good ideas, but actually implementing them is a real problem. And with the charging models and the billing systems, it's an issue. So at the end of the day, omni-channel has a very, very bright future. No one channel is better than every other channel in every use case. So let's not talk about this is better than that is better than this. It is for specific use cases, but email still has a role to play. People have actually not mentioned email throughout this whole event, yet email, more money is spent on email, and there are more transactions via email than any other individual channel, and it's only recently now that SMS plus chat apps combined is bigger than email. So email is still out there, and still a lot of money is given out, but we've got SMS, of course, which we know has a bright future. It has its challenges when it comes to two-factor authentication in particular, with the likes of Amazon, Google, and Meta getting together to bypass SMS in some way, shape, or form. But with the people here, with the platforms, with the numbers, with the research, with you helping a variety of organizations, I think omni-channel has a bright future. And thank you to the audience for attending, and thank you to all online for viewing. And that's been a panel here at World Telemedia 2022 looking at keeping the conversation flowing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, question. I didn't even ask the audience if they wanted any questions. Yeah, question. Who is it to?
It's to all the speakers. My question is, do you think it's important important.
So who are you and where are you from?
Sorry. Yeah, on Thursday, I think already it's no use to introduce. My name is Nadia. I'm from BSG, and my question is with regard to use cases. Do you think it's important to provide industry solutions on the platform, or generic version would work for any type of enterprises?
Well, certainly what we've seen as a trend in the last couple of years is people moving towards vertical-specific or use case-specific platforms. You know, I think a lot of us would say we've seen the generic messaging platform, and it's a bit, you know, the sales 101 is if you go out with a product that's good for everyone, it's really hard to target that and actually sell it to anyone. So, you know, we see, it was a great example of, I think it was RoboRecruiter, who, you know, for all intents and purposes, it's a two-way messaging platform, it's a bot building platform, it's a campaign management platform, but they focused it down onto recruitment, used language that's appropriate to the recruitment industry. Gupshup bought them not so long ago again, and there's a number of these solutions out there where actually they're seeing great success by focusing on specific use cases and verticals.
I know there are a good number of messaging companies out there that are small. They like being the size they are, and they specialize on a particular area. I know one in Sweden that just provides messaging solutions to gyms. I mean, and they're doing decent business, and they're quite happy staying in that.
Just a key thing on that is it does also help resolve some of that pricing challenge. If you know your industry, you know what that solution is worth to them. Okay, yes, you've got the billing at the carrier end where you may have to have, where you're paying individually, but you can package that to make it easy to the customer and say, right, you give us $1,000 a month, you know, and we know on average, we know the industry, we know how many, you know, they can do the calculations to make sure they're going to be running at a profit. And that's really where the smart businesses, I think, or certainly what I'm seeing and believe is the smart businesses are doing now.
Thank you, Fabrizio. And what do you think? Would you make your platform vertical?
I think that's smart. You know, it's a smart approach just to pick out a niche and do something in a certain level what can be generic. The problem is the ungeneric part, the individual one. So if you are able to do something very vertical and very generic, you will be successful as soon as you have one ungeneric wish, so one customization, you're already in consultancy business.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe it's an approach and customizable maybe a little, but I think that's a smart approach to go in this direction.
Yeah, I think that's the thing we've seen and we've learned today, that yes, we talk about the message price, whether it's SMS, RCS or WhatsApp, but the real cost is actually the implementation cost and the time and the expertise. So people get, oh, this is cheaper than that, I'll go for that. But actually the cheaper option can end up being far, far more expensive in terms of implementation.
And this is where we've got layers in our industry, right? So Horizon, the platform you provide, has to be generic by definition, because you know it's the people that buy your platform that then provide the specialism. And I think that's the key thing here, is that we all have a different part to play in this. So the kind of the technology enablers are going to be generic by definition. It's the next layer up who are working direct with brands and who are there where they specialize.
It's up to them to actually customize that.
Yeah. Well, not custom, but they focus their product offering. So they'll still be using Horizon as a back end and all the features of it, but how they market that to their target customer base will probably be more specific.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nadia. Any other questions from anybody? No, that's it. So thank you very much, panelists. Thank you, audience.
Cheers. Thank you, James.
Thank you.